Welcome to Stories from the View. I'm Don Mackey. Stories from the View is a podcast from the Pleasant View Senior Center in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. On this podcast, we invite East Longmeadow residents to tell us stories about their lives and events. Today's guest is longtime East Longmeadow resident Terri Fiore. Thank you, Terri, for coming. And hosting today, our regular Mary Genoan Kaplan. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Dawn. Thank you so much for hosting another Stories from the View. And thank you, Terri, for joining us to be our guest today.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
And so, shall you start at the beginning and tell us your story?
All right. As Don said, my name is Terri. I'm the oldest of four. I have a sister who was 16 months younger than me, a brother 3 years younger, and a sister 6 years younger. I was 7 when I had my first memory. My mother decided at that point she didn't want to be a mother anymore. Leaving us at what used to be Winchester Square, is now Mason Square, she called my father at work, telling him where he could find us. Since my sister was the baby, she was only 10 months old, I was carrying her when he pulled up after leaving work in the middle of his shift. Bills left unpaid by my mother had to be paid. And having no other options, he put the two oldest of us at Mount St. Vincent, home for girls, and my brother at Brightside. Since the baby was so young, she couldn't be taken out for visits, so my mother agreed to take her. My father moved in with his mother, which had to be a blow to his pride because his family had told him not to marry her. And he moved in so he could pay the bills. He would pick us up on Sundays and we'd get the baby from my mother. We used to go to my grandmother's for the day. She'd feed us dinner. Approximately 6 months after, Our Lady of Providence Home for Children was built. And we moved there. They had boys' cottages and girls' cottages and an administration building where they had a communal dining room. So we were able to communicate with my brother daily, have our meals and whatever. After 2 years with the bills being paid, my father was able to afford an apartment and set up a household for us. For the three oldest, my mother still had the baby. At age 9, I became babysitter, cook, laundress, shopper. I believe if this happened today, the state would have taken us away, which fortunately didn't happen because we were together. When the baby was starting school, my mother had remarried, taking on 2 stepsons and having 3 more children. Well, the oldest of the stepson and my sister were the same age, starting school. My mother's second husband did not want anyone to know that this was his second marriage. So he wanted to get rid of my sister. Last names different. We started to pick her up one Sunday and my mother came out and said, "John wants to talk to you." My father said if he wants to talk to me, he comes out. So John explained that he would like my father to take my sister. My father said, "Okay, next Sunday, have her ready." John said, "Never mind, everything's ready now." 2 paper bags in the trunk, and we took my sister home. Unfortunately, that was Labor Day weekend. My sister hadn't been vaccinated, hadn't been registered for school or anything like that. So my father had to take Tuesday off, losing his vacation or holiday pay. Registered, vaccinated. She started school with the rest of us. I have to tell you that my mother, with the 5 kids, the 2 stepsons and 3 of her own, she walked out on them as well. But that's their story to tell. They were older. I didn't think my childhood was bad, just different. Not without sacrifice. My father never married, waited for my mother, didn't date, didn't go out with the boys. He was home all the time with us.
What a hardworking man.
He was. He was a saint without angels.
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Oh, maybe you were the angels.
I don't think I was the angel. No, because I got horns, not wings.
Oh, we'll hear those stories soon.
I guess
too.
that's coming. Yeah.
When they say love is blind, they say they're right when it comes to my father. After 27 years, he remarried my mother. He waited all those years. And all of us were out of the house. I guess my mother figured it was safe and she wouldn't have to put up with the kids anymore. She could just be a wife, not a mother. That sounds bitter. Maybe I am a little bitter. But I'm grateful to her for making my father happy in the last years of his life. She didn't walk out on him again. So I can honestly say, in all of those years, I never, ever heard him say a word against my mother. He also never told us what went on. It happened to him, and it was his story to tell. And he didn't want us to be bitter against my mother. And as a kid growing up, even as we saw her one day a year, that was Christmas Day. She lived in Agawam, we lived in Springfield, so we weren't miles apart. But he spent all those years of Christmas alone, which now I regret, didn't know then. But at that point, a mother is a mother is a mother. And, as you get older, you learn the truth. He never told us the truth. I had to find out from my mother's sisters. And we were closer to my mother's family than my father's family. They were rather staid people, a little, judgmental, shall we say. I'm happy to say the good times more than outweigh the rough times. If my story helps someone to realize that life is not always sunshine and roses, that's worth the effort to be here. We can make our lives what we want, so don't let the rough times define the better days that will always prevail. At age 16, I met a man, a wonderful man.
Ah, romance.
At 19, we married. We had 2 children, 6 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren. 62 years together, not living because those were the 60s. My father would have pinned us both to a barn door. 58 been married, and he still holds my hand. He does. He's not well physically anymore, but he took care of me all those years. Now it's my turn to take care of him. And that's about all I can say.
What a wonderful attitude you have.
Why, thank you. Thank you. It's the results of my father.
And to pass on to those kids and grandchildren, right?
Yes.
So that story becomes for them a framework that, it's just so important for understanding for themselves how to build those relationships and how to keep those relationships, make them work, struggle through them. That's tremendous.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's communication. That's the key. And you don't have to tell all the little tiny secrets, but the big ones, you have to communicate with each other. I have one daughter. She's just left her second husband. That lack of communication there. My son's been married over 30 years. So
Everybody's different.
Everybody is different, yes.
But there's still a lot of love in your family.
There is a lot of love in our family. When we were getting ready to move, Jimmy wasn't able to do anything because of his physical problems. So my kids were there. My daughter came every Saturday because she worked during the week. She's an assistant registrar at the Mount Holyoke College in Holyoke, or whatever town it is, South Hadley, I guess. My son, he's a landscaper, so he worked both weekends as well. So my daughter-in-law was there. They all moved to help move us in. My realtor came to help unload our truck when we moved into we moved in the day before Thanksgiving at 2:00 in the afternoon. Mario's manager, Karen, she came and helped us unpack. My family was there. So we have had an enormous amount of support from everyone. Mary and Bill, those we met at the restaurant. That's how we came to be friends.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But you are a giving person.
Well,
You
thank you.
volunteer in the community. You're not an unfamiliar face here at the Pleasant View Center. She's a morning glory walker
I am a morning glory.
from long ago.
Although most of us don't walk anymore, we're too old to walk. We need to change the name from Morning Glory Walkers to Morning Glory Talkers. Because we do that really well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Terri, it was so good of you to tell your story for us today.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
so appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Another little piece of East Longmeadow history. You lived in Springfield, but you came to East Longmeadow with Jim, so we appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Yes.
He brought you to
He
us.
did.
Long ago.
Yeah, yes. Long time ago. Yes. Years go by so fast.
They really do.
I don't know how my kids and grandkids are so old. We're so young.
It happens. It
Yeah.
absolutely happens.
I'm starting to go backwards with my age now. Yeah.
A good plan.
Yeah.
A good plan. But even now, I mean, moving is not easy.
No, it's not.
You relocated,
Mhm.
and finding a new place is not easy. Selling a home isn't easy. But you have found a place that meets your needs now.
It is. And now it's home.
Mm-hmm.
The changes in our old house make sure it's not ours anymore. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This was best for us. Yeah. It shocked everybody when we decided to sell, but we had to do what was right for us.
Words to the wise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you, Dawn. And thanks for our listeners for
Yeah,
this story
thank
from
you.
The View.
And thank you,
Thank you.
Terri. That
Thank
was
you.
Tremendous. So I guess that wraps up this episode of Stories from the View. Thanks again to Terri
Thank you.
Fiore for just a beautiful recollection and reminder of what's important.
Thank you.
Stories from the View is available on the LCAT 01028 channel on YouTube. If you have a story you'd like to share on the program, contact Pleasant View Senior Center Director Erin Kobler by stopping by the Pleasant View Senior Center, by calling Erin at 413-525-5436, extension 1401, or send her an email at erin.kobler@eastlongmeadowma.gov. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time at Stories from the View. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thanks, Terri.
Thank you.